Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my profile, and we are going to have a very special guest on the show today at one. His name is Caleb Jackson, basketball phenom. So everybody, please mark your calendars, mark your clocks for 1 o'clock today. So, week 12 of the college football season is in the books. In the books, and the first game that we had was Notre Dame and Penn State. Now, Pittsburgh Panthers. The Pittsburgh Panthers head coach said that, oh, it's fine if we lose to Notre Dame. We can lose 110-10. It wouldn't matter because we still have to face Miami and we still have to face our other ACC opponent to finish out the season. So he said this game doesn't really matter, and I believe that is how the players they played in this game, because when it comes to CJ Carr, 21 of 32, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then you have Mason Hyson, 16 of 33, 126 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then you have Eli Holston, 3 of 6, 23 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Pittsburgh, they couldn't do anything. Pittsburgh couldn't do anything, and it seems like Notre Dame couldn't do anything wrong. They couldn't. And when you look at their team statistics throughout, okay, as far as third down efficiency, Notre Dame was 4 of 12 and Pittsburgh was 0 of 13. If you can't convert on third down, you're going to lose, and that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Panthers did. And as far as total yards, Pittsburgh almost allowed 400 yards of total offense when it comes to Notre Dame. That's why they scored 37 points. And the turnovers. Notre Dame had 2 turnovers. Pittsburgh had 1, but Pittsburgh couldn't score off of those 2 turnovers. So that is one of the reasons why this game was so one-sided or lopsided, as most of you would call it. And we get to a point where Pittsburgh, what has Pittsburgh did on a regular basis this year? I'm gonna read off their schedule to you all, and they don't have any quality wins on their schedule. You beat DeQuest State. If you're the Pittsburgh, they beat DeQuest State. They lost to West Virginia, lost to Louisville, won versus FSU, Boston College, Syracuse, and now they finish out the season with Georgia Tech and Miami. Now, we all know Miami hasn't been looking good as of late. Georgia Tech is the odds-on favorite to make it to the ACC championship game. So we'll see what Pittsburgh has, but Notre Dame, they got some road warriors over there. The margin for error is so small for Notre Dame. After they lost their first 2 games, they needed to win out. And for Notre Dame, I could see them winning out, because their remaining 2 games for Notre Dame is Samford, which is a bad team, and Syracuse. So Notre Dame is pretty much going to make it to the playoff no matter what. Now, for Pittsburgh, we don't know what Pittsburgh is going to do, and plus we don't know how Pittsburgh is going to fare against top-notch competition. Now, it's a 12-team playoff. 12-team playoff, and Pittsburgh, I don't think, is going to be in one of those playoffs. I just don't. I don't know, and it's not going to happen. So, Pittsburgh is not going to make it to the playoff. And Congratulations to Notre Dame. You still have a chance at making the college football playoff. 10-2 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and that will make them a formidable playoff college football contender. The next game I'm going to cover is the Oklahoma Sooners and the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't know how long I'm going to be on this game, but the game was there for the taking with Alabama. It was. You had Ty Simpson, 28 of 42, 326 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. You also had Oklahoma, John Mateer, 15 of 23, 138 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. When you look at how the team overall when it comes to Alabama, you see as far as when it comes to their rushing offense, they really don't have a bell cow back. I mean, Jam Miller, he is their bell cow back, but he hasn't took over a game like he needs to. Then on top of that, you had Ty Simpson throw an interception very early in the game that determined the outcome of it. You had the Alabama field goal kicker. He missed the field goal that also determined the outcome of the game. And we are all sitting back after I was watching this game Saturday night. I was out running some errands and I just happened to look at the game on my phone. And I'm looking at a lot of these plays that are on the phone, that were on my phone. And I was saying, Alabama, they got some work to do. And they do. They have work to do. Because when you look at their statistics, outside of all of this here, outside of all of this, their statistics, when it comes to, look at this. Alabama had total yards, Alabama had over 400 yards. When you have over 400 yards, you are supposed to win that game 88% of the time. But they were not efficient. Alabama wasn't efficient. Oklahoma wasn't efficient neither. Oklahoma, they kicked a bunch of field goals and scored when they needed to. But as far as third down efficiency, none of these teams wow you when it comes to third down. Third down for Oklahoma, 3 of 13. Third down for Alabama, 5 of 13. Fourth down efficiency, 2 of 3 for Alabama. Now, Alabama, they still control their own destiny. They still have a chance at making the SEC championship, but they got to go to Jordan-Hare and beat the Auburn Tigers in order to get to the SEC championship game. Now, as far as the team concerned, Ty Simpson, good quarterback, but there are a lot of times throughout the game where Alabama, they don't need to throw the ball deep down the field almost on every play, because that's what it seemed like. That's what it seems like that they were doing. They couldn't get a run game going. Daniel Hill only had 60 yards. Jam Miller, 27. Then you have Ty Simpson, who had -9 yards rushing. Oklahoma's defense really wasn't all that great. It was just Alabama couldn't get out their way. So, looking at all of this and seeing that this is a very, very crowded SEC. You have Alabama, you got Texas A&M, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, you have so many teams that could be playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. It's just so much that's happening right now. And hopefully, and I do mean hopefully, Alabama gets it together because Alabama's already a guarantee to make it to the college football playoff. And I do know that they dropped from number 4 to number 10, but still, when it comes down to what team makes the most money and what will get the more viewers and more ratings throughout the college football playoff, Alabama is going to be in there no matter what. So, did Alabama miss their mark with this game? I would have to say so, but if you told me at the start of the season that Alabama would be 8-2 and they would lose to Oklahoma at home and still have a chance at making the SEC championship and have a chance to make the college football playoff, I would take that. I would take that over any undefeated season that Alabama has had in the past. I would. But Ty Simpson's got to get it together. Offensively, they have to get offensively. Crimson Tide has to get it together. Ryan Williams, he has been missing in action. But if I was the Alabama offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, I would use Ryan Williams as a decoy because I already know that German Bernard, he's been consistent. Josh Cuvis, he has also been a consistent player through the past 4 or 5 weeks. But have some plays called for Ryan Williams. Let me tell you, Ryan Williams, he has that deep threat of a Percy Harvin from back in the day. Now, you cannot have Ryan Williams as your deep threat on this team and not call plays for him throughout the game because it what it is to me is Ryan Grubb, he is depriving the Alabama offense because coming into the season, and I do mean coming into the season, everybody had their attention on Ryan Williams. And as I was saying, coming into the season, I said, okay, since everybody have their attention on Ryan Williams, most of these other guys, you could put them in as decoys. But now it's the other way around. Jeremy Bernard is getting most of the attention, right? Josh Cavis, he is also getting most of the attention. He had 80 yards. Jeremy Bernard had 71 yards. Ryan Williams had 3 catches for 45 yards. Now, I believe Ryan Williams, he can get his production up a little bit more, but Alabama, they need to have some trick plays for Ryan Williams because Ryan Williams, we all know that he is not an every down wide receiver. Okay, we can get that on out the way. Ryan Williams is not an every down wide receiver, but you can have him in on some special package plays. You can. You can also have him line up as a decoy. Like I said earlier, have him line up in that Percy Harvin formation. Remember, everybody, Percy Harvin was a deep threat in college, and he was a deep threat in the NFL. And you see how his career turned out, won a Super Bowl, and retired. I'm not saying that Ryan Williams is just like Percy Harvin, but his game has the same type of caliber if Alabama can use him right. All in all, this was a very entertaining game. This was much closer than I initially thought. I thought that this was going to be a blowout because we all know that Oklahoma's defense hasn't been great at times, and the offense has been pedestrian at times. But man, and I know that there are a lot of people that are pretty much saying that Alabama's season is over. But Alabama's season is not over if they. I'm going to tell y'all something. We are going to be in a situation, and I said this before the season started. There is a situation where this 12-team playoff, there will be a 3-loss team and a 4-loss team in the college football playoff. I don't know what conference it's going to be in, but if it comes out of the ACC, Duke is a 4-loss team, and who knows, they might have a chance at making it to the college football playoff. They do. And also another 3-loss team that could have a chance at making their way into the playoff could be Tennessee. Now, like I said earlier in the season that Tennessee would not have a chance, but we don't know how this committee is going to judge all of these teams. Because if we're trying to put all of our hope in the college football playoff committee, they already know. We've already saw what the college football committee has done. I mean, one year college football committee put TCU and Georgia in the championship game. So we can't have any hope for college football playoff committee to do the right thing, because it's not going to happen. But all in all, congratulations to Oklahoma, Alabama. I can't see Alabama not getting into the college football playoff. If Alabama don't get to the college football playoff, it is going to be just like last year. We were lost without Alabama last year in the college football playoff. We were. Does anybody remember the teams that were in the college football playoff last year? We had teams like Notre Dame, Indiana. We had Ohio State, Oregon, I just said Notre Dame. But and Georgia, but without Alabama, college football playoff isn't the same without Alabama being in there. And I'm not just talking about, ticket prices, revenue, digital advertisement, commercials, and all this other stuff, but I am just talking about the college football blueprint. It needs Alabama in the college football playoff. It does. It need that. All in all, Oklahoma did great. Alabama do better. But when we get to that's it. That's all I got for Alabama. That's all I got for Oklahoma. The next game I'm going to cover is the Iowa Hawkeyes and the USC Trojans. USC Trojans, their defense came up when it had to. Now, USC Trojans defense hasn't done a good job on defense all season. But when they needed to make plays against an Iowa team, that offense is really pedestrian. And I was surprised that Iowa was able to make a run at USC and make the game close as they did. I was surprised by that. Now we get to a point where this is nothing. And let me tell y'all something. When it comes to USC, I am not changing my tune about USC. USC's defense is still awful. And Iowa, they are still pedestrian when it comes to their offense. For the last 3 years, Iowa's offense has been near the bottom in the college football offensive rankings. USC's offense has always been up there, averaging 30 to 40 points a game the last 3 seasons. USC's defense, let's see, now they are allowing 28 points per game. So 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns a game, and USC's offense is allowing scoring 38 points per game. Jaden Maava, he had a good game, 23 of 32, 254 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Mark Granowski, 12 of 29, 132 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Reese Vander Z, 1 of 1, 5 yards, 1 touchdown. Iowa. Iowa's ceiling this season is a bowl game. It is. It's a bowl game because the Iowa Hawkeyes, they play against top-notch competition. They play against Michigan. They play against Ohio State. They are not able to do anything against those teams. USC Trojans. One thing about them, are they a formidable college football playoff contender? I'm not so sure just yet because they've lost to teams that they were not supposed to lose to this year throughout their schedule. Now, there was one game where I covered early in the season versus Illinois. I expected USC to win versus Illinois. Now, who's to say that game might come back and hurt them? It might and it might not. But as far as when it comes to statistics for this game, overall statistics, I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna get a few minutes. I'm getting it off of my phone here. Hang on here. Over the team statistics, it is third down. Third down for USC and Iowa. Third down for Iowa, 4 of 10. 5 of 10 for USC on third down. Fourth down efficiency, 1 of 2. 0 of 1 on fourth down. So USC Trojans, they control their own destiny when it comes to the next 2 games that they have is Oregon this Saturday coming up, which is going to be a big game, and their last game they have versus UCLA. So USC Trojans may finish the season 10-2 or 9-3. Now, one thing I can say, all in all, this was a entertaining game. Iowa, you did make it interesting, but I knew that Iowa wasn't going to win this game. The next game I'm going to cover is the beatdown of Saturday night. Texas Longhorns and Georgia Bulldogs. Man, everybody was expecting a matchup on paper. They were expecting a matchup on paper, and they got a mismatch on the field. When it comes to Texas, Arch Manning, he was 27 of 43, 251 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Gunnar Stockton, 24 of 29, 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something about Texas. Texas, throughout the entirety of this season, has not lived up to its potential. And this is what I was saying before the season started. Let's Rewind all the way back to the very first college football game of the season. Very first college football game of the season, well, in the Saturday slate, was Texas and Ohio State. And it didn't measure up to the hype. It didn't. You had everybody anointing Arch Manning before the season started. You had Texas as number one, and then all of a sudden, after the Ohio State game, Texas, they kind of went into a downward spiral, but they were winning. They were winning games against subpar competition. Then all of a sudden, let me look. You eked out a win versus Kentucky when a lot of people thought that you should have lost. You eked out a win versus Mississippi. You got saved by the bell versus Vanderbilt. I can say that much. I was covering that game, so I called that game early. You got saved by the bell by Vanderbilt. You won your last game. You went on a bye. You had a bye week, and then you got your doors blown off by Georgia, and you haven't beat Georgia since joining the SEC. One thing about the Texas Longhorns, are they just a team full of hype and no action on the field? Cause I'm starting to think that because the last couple of years, last year Texas, they were in the college football playoff, lost. Well, excuse me, no, they were not in the college football playoff last year. The year before, they were in the college football playoff, lost to lost to Washington before before they got to the eventual champion, and that is where Michigan won over Washington. So Texas, they've always been in the thick of things when it comes to Steve Sarkisian. And to everybody that is saying, well, Steve Sarkisian, he's got something lined up with a team that's in the NFL. He may request another job. He may go to this team. He may go to that team. It is just downright hogwash. And none of those stories are true. They are just rumors for a reason. Rumors, and another term that we use, just pure speculation. That's all that it is. Pure speculation. And you got Steve Sarkisian's agent saying that it's pure rumors and pure speculation, no matter what. Now, as far as Arch Manning, I believe Arch Manning, he needs another year or two. And then he can go to the NFL. But did anybody see the other Manning nephew, Marshall Manning? Now, Marshall Manning, he is in middle school right now. He is in 8th grade, going into high school next year. But by the time, I would say, by the time the turn of the decade comes, 2030 or 2031, Marshall Manning, he will be a college football quarterback. And he will be going to one of the top schools in all of college football. So you got Arch Manning, and you already have a new name in the fold, Marshall Manning. So, but we got to focus on Arch Manning right now because Arch Manning hasn't had a good season at all. He hasn't. And when we look at Texas as a whole, defensively, not up to par like they were last year. Offensively, you had Quinn Ewers and you had Arch Manning come in and, come in with those trick plays in mop-up duty. But now, Texas, is Texas one of those teams where they're just full of hype and no action because you've played Georgia 3 times and you lost 3 times. The first 2 games, they were a close-knit contest, came down to the wire. Then you played Georgia in Athens, and you received a beatdown. Credit. I don't know what to take away from the Texas Longhorns. I know as far as some colleagues and some people who are on all you Texas A&M, well, Texas Longhorn fans, excuse me, out there. Emmanuel Acho, I already knew that. Hey, he's a big Texas guy. He played for Texas. Texas is also his hometown. Shout out to Emmanuel Acho. Hopefully, Emmanuel Acho, you see this. I love what y'all are doing at Speakeasy, but have to come to the realization that Texas not a championship team. I mean, they won't even make a New Year's Six bowl if the committee is going to judge the Texas Longhorns how we think the committee is going to judge the Texas Longhorns. Then the Texas Longhorns will not make it to the college football playoff. I'm going to give y'all some statistics and give you all my final take about this game before we end the show. This was a pretty good show, but the next show we are going to be more and more in depth when it comes to college football playoff seedings, because tomorrow night, the third week of the college football playoff projection rankings will be coming out. So, finally, for the team statistics for Texas versus Georgia, total yards, Texas allowed 357. Georgia, they only allowed under 300 yards, 274 yards for Texas. Turnovers, both teams had one turnover. Also, when it comes to fourth down efficiency, Texas went for it on third down 3 times. They were 2 of 3. Georgia was 1 for 1. And Texas remaining schedule, I'm going to go to Georgia's remaining schedule. Georgia's remaining schedule, they have Charlotte this coming Saturday, and they have Georgia Tech on the following Saturday. For the Texas Longhorns, they have Arkansas this coming Saturday, which should be a win. And the following Saturday, they have the Texas A&M Aggies. So, could Texas be 9-3? Could they? Just could they? Because right now they are 7-3. And I already know, I said earlier in the show that there will be a 3-loss team to make it to the college football playoff. But what 3 and 4-loss team is worthy of making it to the college football playoff? Now, as far as the ACC, I keep on hearing Duke, the Duke Blue Devils. Now, respectfully, Duke is a basketball school. We know that their football program ain't worth nothing. I would put, as far as, if you want a team out of the ACC, respectfully, I would put Georgia Tech. I would put Georgia Tech in the college football playoff, because Georgia Tech, even though that they've lost a couple games, the disparity when it comes to their losses is not as heavy as, a team like Miami. They lost to Louisville and they lost to SMU. Clemson, we all know that Clemson, they've been out of the picture for the last 7 weeks. Florida State, they've been out of the picture since before October. So only 2 teams that can really represent the ACC is Duke or Georgia Tech. And with that, those are my reactions to Week 12 of the college football season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports. I have it right up here. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube. Key City Sports on Instagram. And the key on millions.co. Here's my profile. When you go to my profile, you will see my media feed. And we also have a guest that is coming on the show around 1 p.m. today. Basketball phenom Caleb Jackson will be coming on the show today. So everybody who will be watching, please mark your clocks, set your clocks for 1 o'clock for my interview, for our interview with Caleb Jackson. And remember, everybody, one last thing. Remember, the key is always on time.